No, really, I understand that this is a problem for a lot of moms. I get it because it used to be a problem for me. So, I wanted to talk about sort of how you curb the yelling, what you're yelling about, what else is going on in your life. So, if you're joining me and you're not willing to talk about your inner work or your past or like reasons why you could be yelling, then you probably should click away because that's what I'm going to be encouraging you to be talking about. Yelling comes from, often it comes from our childhood. Um, it comes from maybe not knowing, or maybe we know better. I was going to say maybe not knowing better ways to parent, but maybe we know better ways to parent. We just can't figure out how to not yell and do it. Oftentimes, moms that are AP moms, attachment parenting moms, are some of the worst yellers. And then some of them are also like super, super, super like not yelling. I have some amazing examples of those moms that I see every week at our co-op. And so I want to sort of take you down this path of figuring out why you yell and then trying to back yourself off of it. One thing I want to say is when you yell, your blood pressure goes up. So those of you who know me or have been following me for a while, I had a stroke 3 years ago this month. And one of the things that I decided as I was trying to figure out like how do I curb and get a hold of like my parenting, because my parenting was in a really good place, but I tended to go, as a lot of cholerics do, from 0 to like 150 when like too fast. And even though I had been working on my parenting for a long time, working on my yelling for many years, working on my inner work for many years, I stumbled upon reasons, like bigger reasons for not yelling now, because like living is a good thing, and when you yell raises those cortisol levels and our stress level, and it gets us going. And what I'm finding, and what I found just in sort of looking at years past and at myself and at other moms, is you start to yell in the morning and you can't stop yourself. You just keep having like word vomit come out of your mouth, and it's not nice. And you might be yelling about something really small, and it just keeps growing. So if you're in this spot, I want you to just take a deep breath, and hopefully we can give you some tools today to help you with that. Because word vomit is real. When you start to yell at a 4-year-old for something that they cannot possibly understand, they just can't understand it, and you are yelling and screaming and carrying on, and they're looking at you with these eyes of, but mommy, I didn't mean to, or I'm sorry, or, and sometimes it might be different. Like I've had, sorry, my phone is going off. I've had them look at me and fight back. You don't want that. You want kids that are pliable and happy, and you want to be pliable and happy. And I honestly, I'm going to tell you, it has zero, I used to think it did, but I think it has zero to do with temperament. All temperaments can do this. All of them. When you balance, you start to level out. So that's sort of what I want you to be thinking about that. I want you to think about like, so in a landscaping situation, when you're leveling out ground to sort of like have it nice and clean, or when you could use pouring concrete cement on a sidewalk and you're leveling that out. That's as you are growing with your temperament and you're really understanding your temperament, that's what starts to happen. That doesn't mean there's not going to be little humps and bumps and things that you have to climb over, but it does mean that your regular state is much more placid. I do think it happens with age, but I will say that I've seen a whole lot of older people that are on the Waldorf path that are way not balanced. So it happens with age if you work at it. I think you can do it when you're 20 if you work at it. I think that that's one of the things that I've really tried to impart to my kids, is that you don't have to wait till you get old in order to be balanced. I think you can be balanced now, and it's all about sort of how you look at things. You definitely have your life experience that changes you over time, and so that is going to play into how balanced you are and how balanced you feel. But if you are always trying to be open to that space of balance, and when I think about Steiner, so often he talked about the things that Paul said. So not I, but the Christ in me. Now, don't, if you're not Christian, don't turn off, because that's like Steiner would say that. That's from a very loving place of the Christ impulse. The love of Christ is this very placid love, this love of, it doesn't mean that means that all bets are off and there aren't any rules, but it means that that's this place of, I know that you are not doing this on purpose. And even if you are doing it on purpose, I need to try to come from a loving place. And so that's something that happens with our kids. It's something that happens with other adults in our lives. It's something that happens with others that, like people like our neighbor or our partner or, an ex-spouse, all of those things. If we can't come to a place of sort of being at peace within ourselves, we are going to struggle with being at peace with everybody else. So if you are having a problem yelling, somehow I'm scooching over. Sorry. If you're having problems yelling, I want you to step back and I want you to say, where's my peace? I want you to ask yourself, where's my peace and when did I lose it? If you've been in management mom mode and you can't figure out what your temperament is and you're still looking at all the negatives and not looking at any of the positives, then I want you to step back. I want you to go to our website under resources, links you need, and I want you to read about the temperaments and the management mom stuff. And I want you to start thinking now, is it possible that I am stuck in this place? And if I am stuck in this place, I have to work to get out of it. So how do you work to get out of it? Or first, how did you get in management mode to begin with? So I can list some ways. Maybe you had to move and you forgot to relax after you got there. Maybe you just had a baby, or maybe you had a baby 2 years ago and you're still like on patrol constantly. Maybe you've got a child with special needs and you feel like you constantly have to manage them. Maybe you and your partner aren't doing very well, so you feel like you're always on your toes there. There are thousands of reasons why you could be in management mom mode. And management mom mode is vital, and it is a good place to be for a short period of time. This much. That means I know I have to be in management mom mode for a month. And then you break it. And you go back to, okay, I'm reestablishing rhythm. I'm coming back to this place. And you make a break of it that's so strong that everybody knows it. So you might say, all right, everybody, we have been in this management place for so long, but I'm realizing we have lived in this house for 6 months and we are still in management mode. So guess what? Come Monday, we are going to start the week off with a bang, and everybody's going to be in a better place, and we're going to go to the park instead of doing school that day, and we are going to get happy in our happy space. And then we're going to stay there. That doesn't mean you don't ever have struggles, but that means that's your intention as a family to be in that place. So within that sort of management place, and I've been there, I have totally been there. I believe that management mom mode is what brought me to having the stroke when I did. I also believe that my stroke was a blessing. So I don't have any ill will towards the universe about my stroke. I am actually very happy that I had it. It was a life-changing experience for me. Not that I would suggest that everybody has one, but it was the lesson that I needed. So, but watch out. When you ask the universe for things, you get weird lessons. So, so watch yourself. I want you to pay attention to how your body feels when you're yelling. I want you to pay attention to, like, what's going on in your stomach. Is your stomach all clenched up and you're yelling, your fists are you spanking? Are you, and I'm not going to pass judgment because, hey, I've spanked. It's not my best parenting moments at all. And I know that there's sort of this like stigma in the attachment parenting world that if I ever spank, then I certainly can't tell anybody about it. And guess what? That's a lie. There are plenty of very, very good people that lose their temper. It is about knowing, hey, that is not how I want to parent. And I'm gonna fix it because the problem lies with me. The child is going to act the same generally every day. Every day. It is all about how we are facing it. So my first question is, are you getting enough sleep? If you're not getting enough sleep, I want you to say to your partner today, I need to figure out how to get rest. If you're in a situation where your partner is either not available because they're deployed or they're working 20 hours a day, or they're not around, you don't have a partner, I want you to sit and meditate, or get on your knees and brainstorm with God, or meditate and try to bring it to yourself. How can you get help? I don't care if you find a friend and you get, hey, I just need a 4-hour nap every week. So can you give me 4 1-hour segments, or 2 2-hour segments? You find a way. You do not want to be exhausted. Exhaustion brings out the yelling monster. So I want you to ask yourself, if I'm yelling, is it because of that? Is it because I'm not well rested? So if that's the case, you got to figure that one out. All right, so maybe you are well rested and you're yelling because that's how you grew up. You know what? I grew up like that. I grew up, and I love my mom. Hi, if you're watching, Mom. It's kind of late in the day for her to be watching, but I love my mom. But yeah, we had a yelling household. And I remember when, I was trying to remember, she came to visit me, and I think it was when I was still married to my ex-husband. And so my kids were probably 3, 5, 7, somewhere around there. And she said, you yell a lot. And I remember being really offended and like really upset that she said that to me. And here I am, like this attached parent, did everything right. I had cloth diapered, I breastfed until they were done. I did all of these things, but my life was a shambles. My ex-husband and I were a mess. He and I were fighting in front of our kids, and that raises those cortisol levels. So you're already in this fight or flight place, and then your children do something that is normal, and you fly off the handle. So I remember being really upset at her about it, but in hindsight, like I examine that a lot. So, I'm pretty sanguine choleric, but I have come to a place where I examine my behaviors a lot like a phlegmatic or melancholy might, only because I really want that balance in my life, and I want to make sure that, hey, if I did something to really upset somebody, I want to know why. I want to know what I did to upset them. I want to know how I cannot do that again, and I want to know, is that person being overly sensitive? But even still, I have in that place of apologizing. So I remember being really offended at the time that she thought that I yelled too much, because I was like, hello, where did I learn it? And my aunt, who I love dearly, if you're watching, Aunt Penny, I love you. She yelled a lot too. In fact, she'll say now, I can't believe that my kids don't hate me because of all the yelling that I did. I saw her a few, like 6 weeks or so ago, and I hugged her and I said, I don't remember you yelling nearly as much as you remember you yelling. And so I do think that that's definitely the case, but I do think that we have these things that are ingrained when we're children, and so we learn to live here rather than here at our heart level. So you can't see my heart, it's down here. And we want to live in this heart level. We don't want to live here. We don't want to live here. This from here up is like management mom mode, which, like I said, is okay for a time being. It is not okay for you to normally be there. You need to come down to your heart level. You need to stay at your heart level for most of the time. So how do you do that? One of the things that, like I said, I look at my sleep. So I'm just going to give an example. The other day it was, I think it was Saturday, and I was really irritated at Eleanor, which is not very often because she's a teenager, so yeah, but she's a really good teenager. I mean, really good teenager. And she had done something that just had frustrated. I think she had babysat for us, which we pay her pretty well, and she didn't do everything she said she was going to do. It seems like that's what it was. And she had already gone to bed, and I'm realizing then what she hadn't done, and like the negative in me is like, you should just go down there and you should wake her up and get her butt up here to fix it, because that will show her that she better never do it again. And then the rational side of me stepped in and went, that's not really a good idea. Really, you're tired, and if you start a fight with her now where she's tired and already gone to bed, it's not going to be a good thing. So what's the better way to approach that? So I decided I was just going to go to bed. And then guess what? On Sunday morning, she didn't need me to say a word to her. She said, I'm sorry, I meant to do those dishes, and we had a good time and totally forgot. And I had forgotten that she hadn't done them because I went to sleep. So when you are ready, when you feel yourself picking a fight, especially if it's with a child, but definitely if it's with a neighbor or your partner, I want you to get used to feeling, hey, I feel it. It's going to be word vomit. and I'm picking a fight, and I want you to get it, because that's how you stop it. But if you can just get in the habit of feeling it happen, then you can start to back off from it. But until you can feel it happen, until you can recognize it happen, you're not going to get anywhere. So you need to be in a place of really being able to feel it happen. And then once you can feel it and you can recognize, I feel it. My stomach's clenched up. I really want to throw up, so I'm going to like word vomit instead, or I'm so mad, my head hurts. Like I can remember having like migraine level headaches from being so angry. So angry. I remember being so angry at my ex-husband. And so often, anger is a secondary emotion. What's the primary emotion? It's usually fear, sadness, but anger is a secondary emotion. It's not a, yeah, somebody could do something to you, but usually you're like, I'm so sad that person did that. I'm so sad. This is making me so angry. And then it builds from there. So you have to remind yourself often, always, why am I angry? Anger is a secondary emotion. If I can figure out why I'm mad, then I can deal with that. Is it because that somebody hurt you? Like, especially if you're having an argument with your partner, anger, again, being a secondary emotion, did he just say something to you? And you either misheard him, or maybe he really just was being a jackass, because that happens. Because you can be one too. But was it just nasty? And it hurt you so much that then you retaliated with anger? And what would happen if you just didn't retaliate at all? I'm not saying be a doormat, not at all. But I am saying that there is wisdom in Steiner's lesson about holding on to emotion. And that doesn't mean stuff your emotion. It means, and he had a lesson, and I'll post it in the comments, because which number lesson it is totally like, totally left my head. I had it memorized when I came down here, and it's not there now. So, but it's part of the six exercises, and one of them is like holding on to making judgments about situations. And so, once you can get good at feeling yourself get angry, feeling what that feels like, then you can start to go, okay, why am I so upset right now? And once you can start doing that, why am I so upset? And if it's they broke a glass on the ground, did your child throw the glass and mean to break it, or did it fall off the table? Was there just an upset? Were they getting over anxious and overexcited, and you weren't holding the space? And so then the glass fell on the ground and broke because you weren't holding the space. Maybe you're on your phone, or maybe you're on the phone, or maybe you were not somewhere not holding the space. Because often we get really angry at something that they do, and it's our fault. Like, how many times have I yelled and I'm like, okay, why am I yelling at a child who's not putting their shoes on? Because why? Because you need to model it, even with a almost 6-year-old. So Soraya, who's she's got SPD, but when she doesn't put her shoes on, it has nothing to do with her having SPD. It has everything to do with, I might be trying to finish an email off to a client, and I've said to her, please put your shoes on, and I'm done, and her shoes still aren't on. Well, it's because she sees that I am not holding the space by doing this, and so she's just going to keep playing and doing whatever that is that she wants until I am there. So I could yell at her, put your shoes on. I told you to put your dang shoes on. And then have her cry and say, Mommy, please don't be mad at me. Or I could say, I see that me being on the phone kept you from putting your shoes on. Well, let's put your shoes on. So if you're having situations like that you're yelling at, I want you to look at the big picture. Do you have systems that need to be in place that aren't? So like shoes. Putting the shoes on one is, Valerie, I can't ever imagine you yelling. I love you. I can't ever imagine you yelling. So glad that you're joining us, but I can't imagine you yelling. Anyway, so are there systems that you need to put in place? So like for us, when I know we need to go somewhere, like say Tuesday mornings, because we're on our way out to co-op on Tuesdays, Tuesday mornings tend to be like the only stressful morning, and it's not even really stressful if I'm on top of it and I'm prepared. So I generally take no clients Tuesday morning and really just check in with email on Tuesday morning. But generally I don't even do that as much as I triage email probably, and I try to just meditate on Tuesday morning, because otherwise I don't want to be already in this place when we're going to co-op, and that's something that we love and we have a good time at. So I want to look at what needs to be done. You know, we usually take a potluck dish. Did I do that the night before? Oh, I didn't. So I need to make sure I do it now. Are their clothes laid out? And their clothes aren't laid out. And I know Soraya is going to give me 5 different reasons why she can't wear what I think she should wear. So do I care what she wears? So usually I just say, as long as it doesn't have BB-8 on it, then you're welcome to wear it. Or R2-D2, then you're welcome to wear it. Which she has a million other clothes for that. So I have to sort of let go of that situation. For Sam, he's like so easygoing, I swear. So easygoing. Sam, could you do this for me? Yes, Mom. So he's just an easygoing kid. Too much of a people pleaser sometimes. So I want you to sort of look at the big picture. What things need to happen so that you can get out the door? Because that's where I'm at. I'm usually at what has to happen so I can get out the door. And if that's where your stress level comes in and that's when you're yelling, I want you to look at what systems you can be putting in place. Because when we're stressed, then they're stressed. And so I want you to realize that your anxiety translates into their anxiety. And so when people say to me, I have a child who's been diagnosed with anxiety disorder, I go, so talk to me about yourself. Because if you're anxious, they're anxious. And it's just a vicious cycle, and it just keeps going and going and going. So if you can calm down, guess what? They're going to calm down. It's all going to work itself out. So you don't want to work yourself up. You want it to work itself out. So do you need to go on a walk in the morning? Do you need to, like I said, get some more sleep? Figure that one out. If you're not getting 7 to 8 hours in a 20 or in an evening, then in a night, then you need to examine going to bed earlier. So you can get up earlier. Now, there are days, because I'm a huge proponent of getting up before your kids, there are definitely mornings where I get up and I'm like, you know what? I need an extra 30 minutes. So I will get up, make sure everything's ready for the day, and then go back and sit in my chair or lay down for 30 minutes, set my alarm for 30 minutes. So that doesn't happen very often. It only happens when I'm not getting to bed when I should. But it happens. So, okay, I'm going to read some comments here. I'm seeing this so much in my girls. A mirror. Yes, ma'am, they are a mirror. Especially my 10-year-old. A little carbon copy of Mom. Absolutely. Absolutely. Ellie was such a carbon copy of me that my ex-husband used to call her that. It used to make her really upset. So, anyway, I think that they are carbon copies of us. We have to realize that they're going to mirror our behavior. If you are fighting at home with your partner and there's fighting going on with your kids, that's why. You need to not have that discord in your home. If you are struggling with that right now, my heart goes out to you. I have so been there. And I remember it was right before my ex-husband and I got separated. My mom and dad came. We lived in Idaho. They lived in Salt Lake City. It was like a 3-hour drive. And my parents came up and, this is hard. So my parents came up and my ex and I had been fighting, and my little boy, who was now 20, he was 7, and he met my mom at the door, and we were shouting in the kitchen. And he had this really worried look on his face, my mom said. And she said to me, I don't ever want to see that look on his face again, ever. Children should not be put in that situation. So if you are in an abusive situation, I beg you to get out of it. If you are in a situation where you and your partner are fighting constantly, you all need some counseling. We've got our Thrive program, but if you are beyond that, then I am going to beg you to get some counseling, because every bit that you are doing in the positive is getting taken away as you're fighting in front of them. And you're going on. I am not a proponent of divorce. Not. However, I am a proponent of happy children and happy lives, and situations where they're not exposed to all that fighting. So you do what you have to do to not be exposing them to that fighting, because it's heart-wrenching to watch. And in looking back and realizing how much my number 2 and number 3 child were going to number 1, who was at the time 7, for comfort, because my ex and I were fighting, shames my heart to the core. So I don't want you to be in that situation. And if you are in that situation, again, so much love to you. I am happy to help coach you to get out of that situation, but it is not a good place for your kids to be. And that's part of what sort of fuels that yelling monster. So if you've got a partner that yells, and your marriage is in a really good place, and you need to say, hey, buddy, why are you yelling? Let's figure out why you're yelling. Is it because you're overwhelmed and you're overwhelmed by, the chaos that seems to be going on when you come home? What is it that's making you yell? Is it just that you're not around them all day long, and so they do one thing and you just go from 0 to 120 and you're yelling? Like, what is it? Because I really want to have a peaceful home. So you need to be able to talk about those things. So if you have a partner that yells and you've quelled the yelling, then you need to talk about what's going on. Why is there yelling going on? If you are, if you're getting enough sleep and you're trying to figure out your anger and you can't figure out where your anger comes from, I'm going to implore you to get started on some inner work. And that's generally what I would ask you if you had emailed me and said, I had this problem with yelling and I have this problem with anger. My question for you would be, when was the last time you remember not being angry? And you need to go back there. Like, what made you so angry? Where did that come from? Was it a few things that just kept building? You had one thing, and then it built and built and built and built, and now it's this giant thing, and you don't know how to unravel it, and you can't relax, and your blood pressure is really high, and, you're worried about your health, and you can't go on a walk without having a panic attack, and being a parent is overwhelming to you, and you can't get away from these people, and all of those things. If all of those, emotions are coming to the surface, then you got to talk to somebody, and you got to, really decide, I'm going to work on my inner work. I'm going to figure out where this comes from, and then I'm going to be done with it. It doesn't mean poop doesn't come back. We work to get rid of our poo, and there are always teachers, always, in our life that sort of help the poo show up again, and then we have to go, oh no, I remember how to deal with this. Bye. So it's about this ongoing process. You never get done, and you're never at the finish line. It's always this ongoing process of us getting better, of things opening, and us understanding more. And that's really how inner work is. It starts with this small seed, and it grows and it grows and it grows, and it blooms into this beautiful tree that doesn't ever stop growing. It blooms into this beautiful thing, and maybe you go down this branch over here and you figure this part out, and then you realize that branch just gets bigger and you get more depth, and it's amazing. And then you jump over to this branch over here, and wow, look at the fruit on this branch. So that's how inner work is. And if you're afraid of inner work, I'm just going to ask you, how's that working for you? Are you enjoying being angry and being upset and having, your life not feel like it's in control? Because that's how it starts. You have to realize, I don't like feeling like this. I would like to work on it so that I feel better. And inner work is really a non-religious thing. It can have to do with religion. It definitely has to do with your connection with Source. And so you can take it down a religious path, or you cannot take it down a religious path. It doesn't have to go down a path of any certain religion. It's definitely not Christian way or Muslim way, it's definitely not like that, or pagan way. There are different ways that each of us connect, and that's what makes us such amazing human beings. That's what makes these journeys so amazing. And what I find supremely beautiful is, regardless what religious path you're on, if you start to grow this tree and you go down these branches where they're expanding, so often your branches sort of fold into somebody else's branches that are a completely different religion of yours. And do you know why? It's because truth is truth. And all truth comes from Source. And when we find truth in other places and we're working to build that, then it just blossoms and it becomes better. And we become more balanced, and we stop yelling, and we are catching ourselves more. So that's really what you're looking for. You're looking for those times when you're like, I really want to yell right now, but I'm not going to. I'm going to go to bed instead. I'm going to back off, and I'm going to take a walk. And I've done that. If I can't go take a nap and I really want that rage monster to get out, I will say, we're putting shoes on, we're going for a walk. And I love you guys, but you're gonna hold hands and talk to each other, and I'm just gonna have some timeout time, and we're walking. Whether it be kids in a stroller, kids walking in front of you. There's zero wrong with saying, Mom needs some time out. That's not timeout standing in a corner. That's not sitting in the timeout chair. The timeout chair has gotten such a bad rap over the years because people use it in a really bad way. And I'm not a huge proponent of you're going in timeout. I don't do that, not at all. But there are times when you have to say, I need space, or you need space. I can see that you need space. So we're going to work on how we give that space in a very loving way. You're going to be right there on the couch, and I'm going to be right over here in the chair. And I'm going to set the timer. When the timer goes off, we're going to try again and see if we can not hurt each other. But if you can parent from that high flying place of being in a good in a good spot and loving life and enjoying your time with your kids, then things go better for you and you don't feel like you're yelling. We sort of laughed last night, and there are times when you're going to raise your voice, which is different than yelling. So there was last night, so we have a dear friend who owns the dojo that the kids go to, and he has this big movie screen set up in the dojo on the weekends. And so we go down there every now and again and take a movie, and we watch it as a family with him. And he's a single guy, so he's sort of become part of our family, and we love him dearly. And sometimes the boundary is too blurred for Soraya because she loves him. He's also her teacher, and so sometimes we have to rein that back in. And so it's time for us to go home. It's 8:30, past their bedtime, and she's running around in circles, and I sang 3 times, and then finally the 3rd time I said, Soraya, get your shoes on. She stopped. She put her shoes on, and Jerry looked at me and he said, wow, that worked. I said, yes, it did, but it's because I don't use it every day. If I used it every day, she wouldn't listen. It would become old hat to her. It would become something that made no sense, or it would be well, I don't have to listen to her because she's just going to yell again. But because I don't utilize that every day, because I only pull out that stuff when I have to, when it's come on, child, it's time to go, then she listens. And then she put her shoes on, gave me a hug, said, I'm sorry. I gave her a hug and said, I'm sorry I yelled at you. I don't like to yell at you. And she said, I'm tired. Let's go home and go to bed. And then we walked on home and she held my hand. So you want to be sure that if you're using that, you need to use raising your voice tactic, that you're not doing it every day. Because like I said, it's just like those kids that get spanked all the time. It does not work. That's why spanking doesn't work. If that is your mode of discipline, it doesn't work. But if you are working on from a place of, that's something I never do, or I don't want to ever do, and raising my voice is something I don't want to ever do or want to use very sparingly, then it works. Then they listen to you. So I'm going to read some comments here. For me, it's not getting enough sleep and rest and not feeling well. I was never a yeller, but I find myself yelling about silly things since I got sick. When I had my stroke, my patience level was not what it was before my stroke, and my tolerance level wasn't either. And so I really had to work on what things I have to have in place. So I want you to look at things, Jesse, and say what things have to be in place for me in order for me to feel comfortable, so I don't feel like I'm yelling. And what things are you yelling about? And I think that's really important to go, what am I yelling about? Am I yelling about getting your shoes on and it's not happening because I wasn't holding the space? Or am I yelling about kids that aren't respecting each other? Because that's a really big thing for me. I really believe that we are living in a time where kids are not respecting their parents at all. And I know that makes me sound like an old person because I got a big person and a little person, but I watched some kids yesterday in church. Whew. And the mom was asking, and it wasn't just about being quiet in church, but he was picking at his brother, and the mom said, I need you to stop doing that. And he looked at her and told her no. And that would not be me. My kids would be oh no. The look on Sam's face, he was did he just tell her no? I was yes, he just told her no. It's that's not good. Because they know that I'd be okay, guess what? We're going to go stand out in the hall until we can get that reined back in. So, I think you have to look at sort of what's going on, what you're finding yourself yelling about. Is it about behaviors? Is it about things where you're not holding the space? Is it about frustration over being sick? Is it about, things aren't getting done? Do you need to hire help? I think one thing that's really important that sort of struck me yesterday as I was thinking about this topic was I think all temperaments can have as many kids as they want. So I'm going to just put that out there first. I do think that the more unbalanced you are, the more you should think about, hey, I think I should get a little more balance before I procreate again. So if this is something that's a struggle for you and you've got 2 kids and you're like, I can't go through the whole day without screaming, then before you think about, oh, I think I need another baby, you really have to stand back and say, okay, what things do I need to work on in myself first so that I can be in a better place? And it's not just because you shouldn't bring children into anxiety-ridden situations. It's more because you want to be able to enjoy it. I watch so many moms that have 5 kids and they're maybe ages 10 and under, and they're really not enjoying motherhood. And we are here to have joy in this. This should be fun. It doesn't mean it's going to be sunshine and daisies every day, but for the most part, it should be. It should be a fun thing. You should love being a mother. And if you're really struggling with that, but you're really wanting another baby, I want you to step back and go, whoa, back up the truck. I need to get that sorted. I need to figure that one out. I also need to get some help. And that doesn't mean like you need mental health support, which you might, but I'm thinking more along the lines of, I need a mother's helper. What do I need to do? What things can I sell on Etsy so that I have budget so that I can have a mother's helper? Or, oh, I have budget. I just need to find a mother's helper and make it a priority so that you are back to the place of enjoying it. And I think that we do this comparison thing as moms. And I just want to tell you, I am 44 years old and have 5 children, a 20-year-old son and a daughter that's about to be 6 and kids in between. And I have played the game of I need to be the Wonder Mom, not ever asking for help. I've been there. And it got me nowhere. It seriously got me nowhere. So don't play that game. Don't be a martyr. You just need to decide, you know what, I need help. And you ask for help. That's the person that gets the blessings. The person who asks for help. The person who understands, hey, this is more than I can handle. But guess what? The universe is full of options and I'm going to ask for help. And you're going to get the help you ask for, but you have to be specific about it. I am a huge proponent of prayer and meditation, but if you are laying out there this, I need help, please God bring me help, instead of saying, I would really like a responsible teenager that has a car that can come and help me 3 days a week. That's what I'm asking for, God. And then you let it go. Then you open it up. You're not going to get anywhere if you just go, I need help. So you need to be specific. And then you use your discernment to sort of let it come to you. And really utilize those tools to sort of help you figure out, why are you yelling? What's going on? How do I have more peace in my home? I hope this was helpful. I hope if you're struggling with yelling, I hope you can figure out from some of the tools that I've given you today just how to sort of step back and really work on some things within yourself. I am a huge proponent of having a good rhythm and understanding your children, praying for and meditating on each one of your children, especially if you have one that makes you yell the most. I've been there. I've totally been there. If it hadn't been for that time that I spent on my knees for that child, for all of them really, but for that one in specific, I don't know where we'd be right now. I'd probably be in a loony bin because there were some really hard times. So I want you to utilize this information, and hopefully it'll help you this weekend.